Imagine for a moment that the origins of humanity are not rooted in divine love or a grand cosmic design, but in something much darker. Ancient texts, long hidden in plain sight, reveal a chilling alternative history. These records speak of humans as tools, not treasures created to serve, not to flourish. The Mesopotamian Enuma Elish is among the oldest creation myths and tells a story that has long been overshadowed by comforting narratives. According to these texts, humans were fashioned not to live in harmony with the gods, but to perform their labor. Specifically, they were made to mine resources, particularly gold. This was not an act of love or care, but one of convenience. The gods, not wanting to dirty their own hands, created a race to bear the burden of toil. This story raises an unsettling question. Could our origins be rooted not in love, but in servitude? This concept isn't limited to Mesopotamian mythology. Across ancient cultures, similar themes emerge, painting humanity as workers for higher powers. From the Egyptians who built monumental structures to honor their gods, to the Mayans who dedicated their lives to celestial cycles, the recurring theme is one of service. These cultures speak of divine beings who demanded loyalty and offerings, often at great personal cost. Could it be that humanity's collective purpose was engineered by entities who required something only we could provide? Even more startling is the consistency of these narratives. They suggest a common origin, a shared truth buried beneath layers of myth and legend. Were we meant to rule, or were we merely pawns in a game played by beings far beyond our comprehension? Enjoying the story? Like, subscribe, and share to support us. Let's continue. The story of Eden takes on a darker way when viewed through this lens. Far from being a paradise, Eden begins to look like a controlled environment, a place where humans were kept under observation. The forbidden fruit becomes a symbol of knowledge, something humans were never meant to have. Adam and Eve's act of eating the fruit is often portrayed as disobedience. But what if it was something more? What if it was an awakening? The moment they tasted the fruit, they saw the world for what it truly was. Their expulsion from Eden wasn't punishment, it was retaliation. By gaining knowledge, they broke free from the ignorance that kept them compliant. The so-called original sin could be humanity's first step toward independence, a rebellion against a system designed to keep us in servitude. Gnostic texts take this narrative further. They describe the material world as a prison, created not by a benevolent god, but by a demiurge, a flawed and jealous entity seeking to control humanity. This demiurge created a world filled with suffering and limitations, ensuring that humans would remain focused on survival rather than enlightenment. In this worldview, the so-called fall of man wasn't a tragic error, but the first step toward awakening. Adam and Eve's decision to eat the fruit was an act of defiance, a refusal to remain ignorant. The Gnostics believed that true salvation lay in breaking free from the demiurge's control and reconnecting with the higher, unknowable divine source. This interpretation transforms the Eden narrative into a story of resistance and liberation, turning the traditional understanding of humanity's origins on its head. The figure of Yahweh, central to many religious traditions, also changes when viewed through this lens. Ancient texts suggest that Yahweh wasn't always the supreme deity, but one among many in a vast pantheon. In these early stories, Yahweh was a god of storms and war, not the creator of all existence. Over time, his role evolved as societies consolidated their beliefs into monotheism. Other gods were erased, demonized, or rewritten to ensure Yahweh's dominance. This transition wasn't just spiritual, but political. A singular god helped unify a fragmented people, creating a shared identity and centralized authority. The idea of Yahweh as the ultimate creator is relatively new compared to the rich tapestry of earlier myths, raising the question, is the God we worship today the same being worshipped in ancient times, or has his image been reshaped to suit human needs? Yahweh's evolution from a regional deity to the supreme God came with significant consequences. To secure his place as the ultimate authority, rival gods had to be vilified. For instance, Baal, once a revered deity, became a symbol of evil in the Bible. This process wasn't limited to religion, it also served political purposes. By consolidating worship under one God, leaders could control their populations more effectively. The image of Yahweh as a jealous and demanding God reflects the challenges of maintaining authority. This jealousy isn't consistent with the notion of an all-powerful creator. It suggests a being who fears losing control. Could it be that Yahweh's portrayal is less about divine omnipotence and more about the struggles of a God competing for dominance in an ancient world filled with rivals? The suffering we see in the world today is often explained as a consequence of humanity's sin. However, Gnostic texts suggest a different perspective. They propose that the world was created flawed by design. This flawed world is not the work of a benevolent creator, but of the demiurge, whose goal was to trap souls in the material realm. If this is true, then the pain, chaos, and injustice of life are not punishments, but tools of control. The endless struggle for survival keeps humanity distracted from seeking higher truths. It's a system designed to suppress enlightenment, ensuring that humans remain obedient to the forces that govern this world. Jesus' role in this narrative shifts dramatically. In traditional teachings, he is seen as the Savior who redeems humanity's sins. In Gnostic writings, however, Jesus is a revolutionary figure. His mission wasn't to uphold the system, but to dismantle it. He spoke of a kingdom not of this world, encouraging people to seek the truth and break free from the demiurge's control. His teachings were a direct challenge to the religious and political powers of his time. By portraying Jesus as a liberator rather than a redeemer, the Gnostics reframed his story as one of awakening, not submission. His death wasn't just a sacrifice, but a confrontation with the forces of oppression. The story of the Nephilim adds another layer to this complex history. Mentioned in Genesis and expanded upon in the Book of Enoch, these beings were the offspring of divine beings and humans. The Nephilim were giants, heroes of old, who walked the earth before the flood. Their existence challenges the idea of humanity as a singular, pure creation. Instead, it suggests a hybrid origin, part human, part divine. This mixing of bloodlines was seen as a threat to the natural order, prompting the flood as a divine reset. However, traces of their legacy persist in myths, legends, and even physical anomalies. The flood narrative is not unique to the Bible. Nearly every ancient culture has a story of a great deluge that wiped out humanity. These floods are often portrayed as acts of divine punishment. But what if they were something else? Gnostic writings suggest they were resets, wiping out civilizations that grew too close to forbidden truths. The gods, fearing that humanity might uncover its true potential, use these cataclysmic events to maintain control. The flood becomes not a cleansing of sin, but an erasure of knowledge, ensuring that humanity remains in a state of ignorance. The Book of Enoch offers a detailed account of the Watcher's angels who descended to earth and shared forbidden knowledge with humanity. They taught humans skills like weapon-making, astrology, and magic, accelerating human development, but also leading to corruption. This narrative suggests that humanity's advancements came at a cost. By defying divine law, the Watchers disrupted the balance, creating a world where knowledge could be both a blessing and a curse. Their actions were seen as rebellion, and their punishment was severe. Yet their influence on humanity remains, raising questions about the origins of our creativity and ambition. The suppression of texts like the Book of Enoch reveals a deliberate effort to control humanity's understanding of its origins. These texts, along with others like the Gospel of Thomas, challenge traditional doctrines by emphasizing self-knowledge and liberation. The institutionalized church sought to maintain authority by excluding writings that encouraged individuals to seek their own spiritual truths. By labeling these texts as heretical, they ensured that only a narrow, controlled narrative would survive. This suppression wasn't just about theology, it was about power, ensuring that humanity remained dependent on intermediaries to access the divine. The Gospel of Thomas presents a radically different view of Jesus' teachings. Instead of focusing on miracles or salvation through obedience, this text emphasizes inner transformation. It teaches that the kingdom of God is not an external realm, but a state of being within each individual. This message of self-empowerment posed a direct threat to the hierarchical structure of organized religion. If people could find divinity within themselves, they wouldn't need priests, rituals, or institutions. The suppression of such ideas ensured that humanity remained bound to external systems of control, rather than exploring the infinite potential within. Humanity's hybrid origins could explain the tension we feel between our spiritual and material natures. If we are part divine, part mortal, then our existence is inherently conflicted. This duality manifests in our constant striving for knowledge, for power, for meaning. It also explains our capacity for both incredible creativity and devastating destruction. We are beings caught between two worlds, pulled by the divine spark within us and the material chains that bind us. This struggle defines the human experience, shaping our history and our destiny. Could it be that humanity's ultimate purpose is not to serve but to ascend? If the Gnostics are correct, our material existence is a prison, and our true destiny lies in reconnecting with the divine source. This perspective transforms the story of creation into a story of liberation. Our struggles, our questions, and our defiance are not failures. They are steps on a journey toward awakening. The divine spark within us calls us to rise above the limitations imposed by the demiurge and reclaim our place in the cosmos. This journey is not easy, but it is necessary. As humanity's knowledge grows, so does its capacity to question. Ancient myths and suppressed texts suggest that our innate curiosity and thirst for understanding are not accidents, but reflections of our divine origins. The demiurge's greatest fear is humanity's awakening, for knowledge threatens its control. Every act of discovery, every step toward enlightenment, chips away at the illusions that bind us. Our myths of Prometheus stealing fire, or Eve eating the forbidden fruit, are not stories of sin, but of empowerment. They remind us that the quest for truth is our most sacred duty. The hybrid nature of humanity raises questions about our potential. If we carry the spark of the divine, what might we achieve once we break free from the chains of ignorance? Ancient cultures speak of humans performing feats of strength, wisdom, and creativity that seem almost superhuman. These legends may not be exaggerations, but remnants of a time when we were closer to our origins. The suppression of this knowledge keeps us unaware of our true potential, ensuring we remain compliant in a system designed to limit us. The Book of Enoch and other banned texts describe a world where divine beings actively influenced humanity's development. These beings, often portrayed as angels or gods, shared forbidden knowledge that accelerated human progress. But this act of rebellion against divine law had consequences. The Watchers, as they were called, were punished, and humanity bore the weight of their transgressions. This narrative reframes the idea of divine intervention, painting it as both a gift and a curse, a legacy of knowledge that humanity has struggled to wield responsibly. The flood narrative, seen through this lens, becomes a story of erasure. The Nephilim and their influence were deemed too dangerous, and the flood was a means to reset the world. Yet traces of their existence remain, in both mythology and reality. Stories of giants, heroes, and extraordinary beings are found in cultures across the globe. These remnants suggest that the Nephilim's legacy persists, even if their physical presence was wiped out. Their story challenges the idea of a perfect creation, hinting at a more complex and contested history. Jesus' teachings, as preserved in Gnostic texts, emphasized liberation over obedience. He urged humanity to seek the truth within themselves, to question the structures of power that kept them in ignorance. His message was radical, threatening both religious and political authorities. In these suppressed texts, Jesus is not the son of a vengeful God, but a messenger from the true divine source, sent to awaken humanity. His death was not merely a sacrifice, but a direct challenge to the forces that sought to keep humanity enslaved. His resurrection symbolizes the triumph of truth over control. The concept of the demiurge aligns with the struggles humanity faces in the material world, from the endless toil for survival to the suffering caused by war, disease, and natural disasters. Our existence is marked by hardship. Gnostic teachings suggest that these challenges are not accidental, but intentional, designed to keep humanity focused on the material and disconnected from the spiritual. Liberation comes not through avoiding suffering, but through understanding its purpose and seeking the higher truths that lie beyond it. The Gospel of Thomas offers a glimpse into a different understanding of salvation. It teaches that the kingdom of God is not a distant place, but a state of being within each person. This idea shifts the focus from external worship to internal transformation. It challenges the need for intermediaries like priests or rituals, empowering individuals to find divinity within themselves. This perspective was deemed dangerous by religious authorities, who suppressed it to maintain their control. The message of self-empowerment, however, remains as relevant today as it was in ancient times. Humanity's dual nature, as part divine and part mortal, creates a unique tension. This duality drives our creativity and ambition, but also our conflicts and self-doubt. It explains why we are capable of both incredible acts of compassion and devastating destruction. The spark of divinity within us calls us to rise above our limitations, while the chains of the material world pull us back. This inner struggle defines the human experience and shapes our history. It is a battle between the divine potential we carry and the material reality we inhabit. The recurring theme of forbidden knowledge in ancient myths highlights the power of understanding. Prometheus stole fire for humanity, and Eve ate the fruit of knowledge. These acts were punished, not because they were wrong, but because they threatened the control of those in power. Knowledge empowers, and empowered individuals are harder to control. This is why myths often portray the pursuit of knowledge as dangerous. It challenges the established order. Yet it is through this pursuit that humanity evolves and progresses. The suppression of alternative spiritual beliefs throughout history reflects a deliberate effort to control humanity's understanding of its origins and destiny. By limiting access to texts that encourage self-awareness and questioning, institutions ensure that people remain dependent on established systems of power. The rediscovery of these texts, like the Gnostic Gospels, challenges the narrative we've been taught and offers a path toward liberation. These hidden truths remind us that the power to change our reality lies within us, not in external authorities. The story of Eden can be reinterpreted as humanity's first act of rebellion. Adam and Eve's choice to eat the forbidden fruit was not a fall from grace, but a step toward enlightenment. They refused to remain ignorant and compliant, choosing instead to seek knowledge and freedom. Their punishment, expulsion from Eden, was not a consequence of their actions, but a reaction to their awakening. The gods, fearing that humanity might realize its potential, sought to suppress this newfound awareness. This narrative transforms Eden from a paradise into a prison, and the forbidden fruit into a symbol of liberation. If humanity's origins are tied to divine rebellion, then our purpose may be to continue that legacy. The divine spark within us calls us to rise above the limitations imposed by the material world. Every act of creativity, every question asked, and every boundary pushed is a step toward reclaiming our place in the cosmos. The gods who sought to control us underestimated our potential. Humanity's journey is not one of servitude, but of awakening, a relentless pursuit of truth and freedom. The suppressed texts and hidden histories offer a path to understanding our true nature. They remind us that we are not just physical beings, but carriers of divine potential. Our struggles and questions are not signs of failure, but steps on a journey toward enlightenment. By uncovering these hidden truths, we can break free from the illusions that bind us and reclaim our destiny. The knowledge we seek is not forbidden, it is our birthright. The myths and legends of our past are not just stories, they are echoes of a forgotten history. They speak of a time when humanity was closer to its divine origins, capable of feats that seem impossible today. These legends remind us of what we are capable of and challenge us to reconnect with the divine spark within. Our history is not one of failure, but of potential waiting to be realized. The gods may have sought to control us, but they could not extinguish the light within us. As we reflect on these hidden truths and ancient narratives, one question remains: what will we do with this knowledge? The systems of control that have shaped our world rely on our ignorance and compliance. By uncovering the truth, we gain the power to reshape our reality. The divine spark within us calls us to rise above the illusions and limitations of the material world. This journey is not easy, but it is our purpose. Humanity's story is not one of submission, but of awakening a relentless quest to uncover the truth and reclaim our place among the stars.